Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The devastating fires in Maui have people all over the country reaching out to help, including here in San Diego. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Hawaiian Electric is now under legal threat as a new lawsuit alleges it failed to shut power off ahead of those fires. The death toll currently stands at 96 and is expected to keep rising. We begin our coverage tonight with Gloria Pazmino.
I'm completely heartbroken over this.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who has strong family ties to Hawaii, echoing a sentiment shared by many.
Hope is really the most important thing that we need, and to be sensitive to those who have lost everything.
But hope is a high bar for many fire survivors, especially those with missing loved ones, watching as rescue and recovery teams sift through the ashes while remnants of the fires still burn.
Every day going back to help clean up and help put spot fires out, or it still seems like a nightmare that we're trying to wake up from.
Also rumors that the tragedy is becoming a morbid spectacle.
I heard there was a snorkeling boat looking at Lahaina town. Give them respect. People died here. Oh, no.
Questions are growing over the outdoor warning sirens used for hurricanes and tsunamis, which were left silent as wildfires swept through.
The Attorney General has launched a review of what happened with those sirens and some of the other actions that were taken.
Some survivors were sent texts to phones without service. In the chaos of fleeing,
trees were falling and branches were starting on fire. Power lines were falling down.
Those power lines, the focus of a new class action suit filed against Hawaiian Electric, claiming the company failed to cut power as toppled energized lines ignited wildfires. Hawaiian Electric says it will cooperate with the review into exactly what happened. Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
As families in Maui try to pick up the pieces, help from outside the island is pouring in, including some from San Diego. As KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne shows us, a donation drive started by a local professional MMA fighter received overwhelming support over the weekend.
Hawaii-born Elimale McFarlane is a professional MMA fighter who now lives in San Diego. When she heard of the fires in Maui, she knew she had to help in some way.
I really didn't think it was going to be this big.
Look at all the aloha.
She started by calling on her social media followers to help raise money.
I put my initial goal as like 10,000, and I was like, oh, we'll be happy with just a couple, anything that we can send. And it ended up exploding overnight. Got to $1 million in less than 24 hours.
She now has raised more than $2 million. She will be working with Maui County to distribute the funds. But McFarlane also knew resources in Maui would be scarce following the fires.
They're extremely short on resources. We're an island. We get majority of everything shipped over.
So she started a local donation drive for essential supplies. She planned on collecting items all month. But the support from San Diegans was so overwhelming that she had to start turning donations away.
This is such a beautiful thing that happens in truly dark times. And, I don't see anybody's political beliefs. I don't see anybody's skin color. I don't see anybody's, whatever they believe in. It's just pure love that I see, and appreciation and gratitude.
McFarlane and friends organized and drove the donations to a shipping container in Long Beach that will be delivered to Maui. While McFarlane is no longer accepting supplies, she is still raising money because Maui will need all the support they can get.
We're not out of the darkness yet. In fact, it's almost becoming even more tragic now that people are looking for their families and they're identifying the bodies.
McFarlane's nonprofit is called the Nawahina Toa Foundation. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
And all kinds of emergency workers are heading to Maui to help people and their animals. Coming up, what the San Diego Humane Society will be doing there. And the fires in Maui underscore the danger wildfires present. Just last week, thousands of East County residents were hit with evacuation warnings as the Bunny Fire spread. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says with peak fire season here, firefighters want residents to be ready for the worst.
The Bunny Fire in Ramona last week grew to more than 100 acres in less than an hour. CAL FIRE officials say 11,000 residents got evacuation warnings as flames threaten homes.
Wildfire is here, wildfire is year-round, and we need to be ready for it right now.
CAL FIRE San Diego Captain Michael Cornett says how fast the Bunny Fire grew underscores why people need to have a fire plan. That includes making sure everyone in your home knows where to go and what to do, and how essentials like papers, prescriptions, money, or pets can quickly be packed up.
We want to make sure that everybody's plans in place now.
When it comes to your safety in a wildfire, every second counts. Firefighters say if you get that evacuation order, you need to be prepared to leave quickly. They suggest having a go kit ready with food and other supplies.
That's what we suggest, is making that emergency kit, having all that food and water and everything, and making sure that you can last for 72 hours with that.
An evacuation warning means the fire could soon be in your area, while an evacuation order means people need to go as soon as possible. Cornett says people can also proactively help protect their homes by creating 100 feet of defensible space.
Another part of that defensible space is making sure that your home is hardened, that the eaves are closed, that there's no open vents. The homes don't necessarily burn down as the fire front's coming through. It's after the fire front's coming through that there's small embers that could have gotten into your attic, down on the ground level, coming up if there's some bark or something around the house.
If you're in a situation where you can't leave, Cornett says call 911 immediately and stay inside your home.
We want to stay towards the center of the house, away from the exterior walls. We want to make sure that our tub is full of water so we have some type of drinking water if we need it.
This Saturday, the county is hosting an emergency preparedness event in Ramona so residents can be ready for natural disasters like wildfires. More information, including what to have in emergency kits and how to sign up for alerts, is available online at readysandiego.org. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Well, we aren't talking about too much action across the region, but we do have some disturbances that we do have to track. Now, as we head over these next few days, there is going to be some instability, especially across the mountainous terrain, and that can cause some thunderstorms. We'll tell you where those storms are going to be setting up and how temperatures are going to fare, even as we do get some moisture flowing into the region.
Tomorrow is the deadline to vote in a special election to fill a seat on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more on how to cast your ballot.
The vacancy in the county's District 4, which includes Lemon Grove, La Mesa, and parts of central San Diego, was triggered by the resignation of Nathan Fletcher in May. County Registrar of Voters Cynthia Paz says as of Friday, her office had received ballots from 16% of the district's voters. Turnout in special elections tends to be much lower.
So we try to encourage voters. These are your local officials. These are the folks that will impact your lives in your home the most. So these elections are really important to turn out.
Every registered voter in the district got a mail ballot, which voters have to sign and date for it to be counted.
They can return that through the U.S. Postal Service. But as we're getting closer to Election Day, we do encourage folks, go ahead and visit one of our 29 drop boxes across the district.
You can also vote in person at any of the county's 14 voting centers. They're open Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can even register to vote on Election Day. To learn more about the 4 candidates on the ballot, go to kpbs.org/election. If no candidate receives a majority of the vote, the top 2 finishers will compete in a runoff on November 7th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
And you can find everything you need to know about the special election online, from interviews with the candidates to ballot drop-off locations. You can just click on the Voter Hub link on our homepage at kpbs.org. A recent survey of almost 1,200 Black California voters shows a demand for action to close the academic achievement gap for Black students. The survey was conducted by the Black in School Coalition, made up of teachers, administrators, school board trustees, and civil rights leaders. 50% of the voters said that they do not think California schools are providing a quality education for Black students. 93% said chronic absenteeism across the state is an urgent problem. 79% support a law to change the way schools are funded by creating a new grant to provide more money to schools with the state's lowest performing students. Ellen Nash is the San Diego chair for the Black American Political Association.
Every child deserves a quality education, and any family choice that we make, private, public, charter, is because we want the best academic outcomes for our children.
Nash points to Gompers Prep Academy in Choya's View as a success story for students of color. In 2005, parents and educators came together to convert Gompers from what they considered a failing public school into the successful charter it has become, with a 100% graduation rate. The U.S. Department of Education is releasing new guidance following a Supreme Court ruling that effectively ended affirmative action. It suggests that college admissions officials are allowed to consider how race has impacted a student's life, but they just can't use the overall demographic data to influence their admissions decisions. The DOE is also providing legal resources as well as outreach and recruitment strategies. U.S. household budgets may soon get a breather. Although it's too soon to declare victory over inflation, many economic analysts believe the Federal Reserve may hold interest rates steady next month. John Lawrence reports.
The average U.S. family spent about $700 more in July compared to 2 years ago to buy the same goods and services, according to Moody's Analytics.
Look at how much parents are paying for materials for children, back to school materials. Prices have gone up. Maybe the rate of increase may slow, but the level has gone up significantly.
The main cause for consumers forking out more money is still high inflation. In an attempt to curb these rising prices, the Federal Reserve boosted U.S. interest rates 11 times since March 2022.
It's no fun. No one likes it, but if you're going to get inflation back in the bottle, this is part of the process. Good news is inflation is getting back in the bottle.
The CME FedWatch tool says the financial markets believe there's nearly a 90% chance the central bank will hold rates steady in September.
We have a kind of a Goldilocks economic situation where economic growth is slowing without going into a recession.
Another reason for economic optimism, wages are starting to outpace inflation.
Things feel like they're moving in the right direction. Hopefully, 6-12 months down the road, the Fed can start taking its foot off the brakes and lowering those interest rates, and the banking system will, feel a lot better as a result.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A string of accidents has brought bike and e-bike safety to the forefront as kids head back to school. Both Carlsbad and Encinitas school districts now have mandatory safety courses for students who want to ride their bike or e-bike to school. Student riders are also required to apply for a permit every year, and to really drive the point home, the Carlsbad Fire Department is giving away free bike helmets. Several hundred students have already taken the class this summer. Nearly 29 million Americans will experience an eating disorder in their lifetime, according to a 2020 report by Deloitte Access Economics. College students can be especially vulnerable to developing these serious, life-threatening mental illnesses. Mandy Gaither has more on how doctors say parents can help.
The transition to college isn't always easy, and today's students are at greater risk than ever. A November 2022 study found the chance of college students developing an eating disorder rose 13 percentage points from 2013 to 2021.
And unfortunately, about 70% of patients with eating disorders won't actually seek treatment or have barriers in terms of seeking treatments.
Dr. Laura Dorr is part of the eating disorder team at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She says college can be especially hard on students as they may be away from family for the first time, planning their own meals, trying to fit in with peers.
Students who are competitive athletes, unfortunately, are at higher risk, and so they may be entering the college sports arena and be dealing with some issues themselves as they start in that process.
Dorr says parents can help protect their children from eating disorders by being a good role model, having a good relationship with food yourself, and watch for red flags. Signs a child may be struggling with disordered eating include headaches, dizziness, lack of energy, and difficulty sleeping. Dorr also says it's critical to talk to your children.
It's about what they're eating, how their energy level is, what they're doing to help improve their health and nutrition. I think those are the conversations we need to have as parents, just to ensure that we're keeping the lines of communication open.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
This morning, a 4-person rescue team from the San Diego Humane Society left on their way to Maui. They specialize in animal rescue and they know how to work in a wildfire zone. KPBS reporter Thomas Fudge has the story.
The Maui Humane Society reached out to San Diego's Humane Society for help, knowing that San Diego had a trained fire team. This morning, they were packing respirators and other protective equipment for their journey. Their goal will be to save animals that were stranded behind the fire lines.
The news from on the ground is not good for those that we're relieving.
Summer Piper is a fire team leader with the San Diego Humane Society.
So we're anticipating encountering a lot of things that we don't necessarily want to encounter, but they're to help, and we obviously have large hearts for people and animals.
The devastation of the Maui wildfires has killed close to 100 people. Piper says one thing that's common in fast-moving wildfires is that animals, pets, and livestock are left behind as people have to flee.
People had no notice to leave themselves. So if you could imagine if you had animals, you may have a cat that's hiding. You don't have time to get out yourself. You don't have time to find your cat. You don't have time to load your goats.
The equipment the San Diego team will bring to Maui includes what's needed to bring an animal in.
So we might have gloves, there's some nets, different things like that that allow us to safely capture, contain, and then transport an animal.
Rescued animals will be sheltered until the burned areas begin to repopulate. That's when people will reach out to the Maui Humane Society to hopefully be reunited with their animal companions.
They'll probably set up a website that shows pictures of the animals, things like that, in order for people to be able to identify who their family members are.
The San Diego Humane Society fire team expects to be in Maui for up to 10 days. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines. What you need to know over these next few days. The first one on the list, well, that heat is going to continue to build through the middle of the week, peaking Tuesday into Thursday. Now, that fog is going to be limited to coastal areas as we're breaking up that deep marine layer. And we are going to be staying mostly dry across the deserts and mountains, but that doesn't mean completely dry. There is still going to be that chance for a pop-up shower or thunder shower. Now, tonight we're dropping down to a low of 68, partly cloudy skies around San Diego, and then Oceanside dropping down to a low of 64. Mostly clear skies, though. Again, we are dealing with some low-level cloud cover, especially along the coastal region. So, again, just take precautions if you're out late or very early in the morning. But as we head a little bit further inland, well, we're dealing with clear skies. Sunny skies. With that, as we head into the afternoon tomorrow, highs are going to be running in the triple digits, of course, in Borrego Springs. Mount Laguna comes in with a high of 73, and San Diego 79. Now, we are dealing with some instability across the mountains, and so as we take this throughout the late hours tonight into early Tuesday, we're already starting to see a few pop-up showers across the mountains. But then as we head into the afternoon, we get that daytime heating. That could set off a few thunderstorms, too, in the mountainous terrain, even across portions of the deserts as well. That's going to be the story as we head into Wednesday afternoon, too, as well. But overall, we are going to be staying mostly dry. Along the coast, your 5-day outlook, sunshine and humid on Tuesday. Highs, though, remaining in the low 80s, upper 70s as we head into the weekend. Then more inland, well, highs are going to be ranging in the 90s, dipping down slightly for the weekend, Friday and Saturday, with mostly sunny skies. For the mountains, well, highs are going to be staying in the 70s for the most part before dipping down to 67 on Saturday with a stray thunder shower possible. And then for the deserts, well, we're warming up through Thursday, and then we're dipping back down to low 100s by Saturday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Here's another look at today's top stories. A new class action lawsuit claims that fallen power lines ignited wildfires in Maui. The suit alleged that Hawaiian Electric Industries chose not to cut the power to lines during high wind watch and red flag warning conditions, despite knowing that the risks. Hawaiian Electric says it will cooperate with the review into exactly what happened. Meanwhile, the death toll in Maui has risen to 96, making it the deadliest U.S. fire in over a century. Well, tomorrow is the deadline to vote in a special election to fill a District 4 seat on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. The race was triggered by the resignation of Nathan Fletcher. The district includes Lemon Grove, La Mesa, and parts of central San Diego. Ballots can be submitted by mail or in person at any county voting center. If no one receives a majority of the votes, the top two candidates will compete in a runoff election November 7th. Is a 180-ton granite bear art? Since 1981, the Stewart Collection has been prompting questions about what makes art through the works it commissions for the UC San Diego campus. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando went on an expedition to discover how the collection puts art in unexpected places.
Entering the UC San Diego campus, you expect to find an educational institution. But you might be startled to see a house teetering on the edge of the engineering building, or be perplexed by what looks like a graveyard of little Buddhas and TVs.
Someone like Nam Yoon Paik, for example, was definitely thinking about the future of technology. And he was thinking that in the future it could look like some sort of archaeological dig that someone would suddenly find.
Exploring the Stewart Collection can be an Indiana Jones adventure in terms of both discovering the eclectic art and how some of the art came to be. The collection takes its name from James Stewart da Silva, who felt art had changed his life and wanted it to do the same for others.
He decided to invite Nikire Sant Phal to be the first commissioned artist because he was interested in commissioning, not in buying work that was already made, but to really bring artists to the campus and have them connect with the context and the history.
The result is a breathtakingly diverse and still growing collection of public art scattered over the campus's 1,200 acres. It ranges from Alexis Smith's 560-foot snake slithering up a path to the library to John Luther Adams' auditory wind garden.
I like to say we're not decorating the campus as you would sort of decorate your living room. We are trying to provide experiences that people can engage or not. It's sort of permission to wonder. It's not about whether you like it or not.
But rather, what do you think about putting something like a granite bear in the courtyard?
You see these wonderful granite formations, and then Tim would see animals in those.
Tim Hawkinson's bear joined the Stewart Collection in 2005 and quickly became a favorite with students who would dress him up.
I mean, it's a kind of an astounding bear when you think that it's real granite and the whole thing weighs 360,000 pounds.
Bear definitely impressed a young Boy Scout who shared his opinion with the Stewart Collection's first director, Mary Beebe.
But he said, "Do you know how cool this is? Do you have any idea how cool this is?" And I was just so pleased because it strikes awe.
Fallen Star is definitely the piece that really strikes people's imagination because of how it was engineered to live at the top of the School of Engineering's building.
Fallen Star was conceived by Do-Ho Suh, who felt like he'd been dropped into Oz after arriving in the U.S. from Korea.
That experience was very profound for him in this having to get his balance, how to balance his life again. So he's thought a lot about the idea of home.
But then something like Jenny Holzer's green table might go completely unnoticed by the people using it.
And they're having lunch there, for example, and then their eye will suddenly catch that there's tons of phrases inscribed onto this huge granite green table that have to do with politics and history and feminism and oppression and power. So that has ignited certain debates and conversations between students and faculty, for example.
Some even ignited controversy, like Vices and Virtues, that prompted a La Jolla City Councilman to say, if the university is allowed to put lust up here in neon, it will incite infidelity in the community.
So that's what's key to public art, is to be able to sort of activate or detonate conversations around what it means to occupy public space and who has access to it, who doesn't.
Public art explodes the boundaries of conventional art by making it accessible to everyone in spaces where you can touch it, walk over it, walk through it, or maybe not even notice it.
One student said to me when I first came on campus, I didn't really know anything about art, but he said, I saw the blue fence, and he said, I thought it might be art. I thought it might be art. So, that kind of thing really tickles me.
So head out to UC San Diego for an adventure in public art. And who knows what you might discover. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And Beth's story is part of an ongoing series about public art in the San Diego region. You can find more of our stories at kpbs.org/publicart. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Luxury cruises are a key part of San Diego's tourism. NPR's Morning Edition checks in on how the industry is recovering from the pandemic. And be sure to get the latest from KPBS News delivered to your inbox. Breaking news, arts, and our top headlines are all available as newsletters. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.